republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here with us tonight. First, we've got the approval of minutes. Was everybody able to review the minutes? Do we have any corrections, questions? I didn't see anything. Lance, you're always really detailed with minutes. You always catch the little things.
They look good.
Okay. I sent a typo to Sherry. You got it? Anybody willing to make a motion? Thank you, Jen. I'll second. Thank you, Sue. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh.
Not on the last meeting, last week.
Okay, sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, board chair update. Let's see. Last week we had Teacher Appreciation Week. I was able to go into a couple schools that had some great PTO participation. That was really excited to see. Got to speak to a few moms that were heading up those PTO groups and just loving on our teachers. It was really, really nice to see our parent groups getting involved and just showing some appreciation to how hard our teachers work. Let's see, today we got to go on a tour to Glacier. Brad had joked in the beginning saying, you know what, today is my final, and I think he did a great job. Sue and Scott and I were all there. He did a great job. He showed us some pretty neat things that Glacier is working on, exciting things. One thing in particular, their art project that they're working on outside that the entire community is going to be able to witness because it's massive. What are they calling it? This entry archway that they are building. It's amazing, and I think the entire project is impressive, but the most impressive part is that our community has stepped up and they have donated almost every piece to this project, which is just, it's incredible. I will save I thought was the last board meeting. It will be my last board chair update, but I'll save my goodbyes for next week. Okay, that was about it. Do we have any students here for our student report? I know Glacier said that they weren't sending anybody. Sherry? Flathead? Michelle, do you know?
No, she's in the orchestra concert.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have any student reports tonight. So next we've got public comment. At this time, the board will allow comment on public matters that are not on the main agenda. Members of the audience are encouraged to briefly address the trustees on an issue that is not on the agenda. The chair of the board will seek comments from the audience on significant items as they occur. Public matters do not include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. Please do not attempt to address such issues at this time, or you'll be ruled out of order. Please note that each individual will be given 3 minutes for public comment. Do I have anyone for public comment tonight? Welcome. You can come right up here to the microphone. Thank you, Jared.
Might have a dead battery. It's just.
I think the other one was.
Is it green?
Yeah, that's not turning green either. I don't know what's wrong.
Just touch
Or not.
it.
Oh, dead, right? Oh, that was turning green. Okay.
I want to thank all the board members for being here and taking the time involved in kids' lives. Thank you for caring. I'd like to share a little bit about myself and why I came here tonight. I would like to share a perspective regarding the current challenges students struggling with gender dysphoria. When I was 6 years old, I wanted to be Superman. Superman was faster than and more powerful, promoted. Superman, tall buildings. The bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Superman, invincible. I was one. So I stood on the roof of my house. I had a towel for Suzanne's cape. I tied that towel around my neck with a diaper pin. I walked down to the edge of the roof and looked at the ground, long way down. I was going to fly. Jumped. And I hit the ground hard. My feet hurt. My ankles hurt. My legs hurt. I was five. Superman. Invincible. Superman. Gravity got in the way. Gravity has a final say. I saw I was never Superman. I was happy. I was a tomboy. I loved hiking in the California among the mustard grass and oak trees. I loved watching the hawks hunting in the sky for rabbits. I liked the lizards scurrying along the canyon floor. I caught tarantulas and big beetles. I loved the world of biology. I didn't have the usual interests that other girls had. Puberty brought other problems. I was impossibly skinny, awkward in social situations. I was not charming. I was weird. I was popular or pretty. Who was I? I didn't know. What was? But I did know that I did not. If someone had told me then that I had been born in the wrong, I might have believed them. I might have believed anything that offered a way out of feeling like a misfit. In the end, how did things turn out for me? Over the course of years, I learned I didn't have to be beautiful or popular. I didn't have to have the same interests as other women, and it's okay to be different. I learned that most women do not have a perfect figure, and no one. However, I've had a meaningful and successful life. I'm grateful to have had 3 children and adopted a 4th. I have 10 grandchildren. Today, there are 13 wonderful people in the world who would never be here if I would have lost the opportunity to have my life. The world is a better place. I love transgender kids, and I see myself in them. I see the thoughts, feelings of being different, not fitting in. This field, many people. Transgender movement promises that what does not feel right is made right with hormones, surgery, and new identity. What does it? Will kids who transition have biologically functioning sex organs? In the best of circumstances, they might look like the other sex, or function the same as the other sex. We tell them that they might possibly be sexually disabled for life. So we tell them what it is like to have a functioning sexual relationship with another person, and that they might lose that opportunity. We tell them that their thoughts and feelings about themselves are likely to change over the years, and that the rush of hormones at puberty can bring a host of confusing feelings. When did who we are become completely separate from our bodies? There are reasons why it might be a bad idea for children and young people to transition. Their brains are not fully developed until they're 25. Children who feel one way at 12 do not always feel the same at 20. Did you? Any long-term hormone surgery, being castrated. Parents are often told that their child might commit suicide if they are not given hormones and treatment. A 2011 study from Sweden found that males who underwent gynoplasty twice as much suicide after. Additionally, gynoplasty is associated with many complications, wound separation, vaginal stenosis, hematoma, fistula, bleeding, infection, vaginal prolapse, those undergoing penile implant kind of patients. The other issue that I'm asking is lawsuits from kids who believe they've been harmed from these policies. What could it cost the school district in the long run? Consider the experience of detransition of COVID. In closing, I say, let kids be kids. Let's give them time to grow, figure things out. Rushing in and telling them that surgery and hormones will solve all their issues. I, for one, am extremely grateful. I was not hearing these things when I was young. But my amazing family was here with me tonight.
Thank you. Is anybody else for public comment tonight? Jared?
Hello, my name is Jared Stump, and I work at Glacier High School. Today I am really talking about the public comment period that you guys have. I kind of hope that everyone understands why I started attending all the school board meetings last spring, and I've had some of you actually ask me, like, are you a glutton for punishment? Like, why do you keep coming to these things? But my original purpose was to learn more about the inner workings of the district, such as the budgeting process and other things that are important for, I think, staff to really know about. I don't think they have a good understanding of how it works. As well as to express my concerns with some of the decisions that central administration was asking the board to vote on. I quickly learned that I could also provide a teacher's point of view of these board discussions when appropriate. And I would like to suggest that the board take public comments whenever possible to make sure the public doesn't feel like you're not listening to them or not taking their concerns seriously. In the meeting I attended 2 months ago on March 14th, there was a district budget discussion taking place. And when I raised my hand to make a public comment, the board chair respectfully turned down my offer and said, quote, since this was only a discussion item, there would be no public comment at this time. I was troubled by that decision. I understand that the board rules are designed to keep the meeting running smoothly, and that without these rules on occasion, the board may be bombarded with so many public comments on a hot button issue that it could derail the meeting. So I understand why the policies are in place. But this was not the case on March 14th. I was the only person in the public trying to comment at the time, so I don't think an extra 2 minutes would have derailed the meeting at that point. It was an important discussion too. I think very important to get everyone's feedback. I've seen the board chair graciously bend the rule on occasion, and sometimes even extend the 3-minute clock to allow public comment. And I appreciate it when they let me finish a thought that may take, 30 seconds longer than 3 minutes to explain. But also, I'd like to encourage whoever takes over as the board chair to strongly consider changing that procedural rule, or at least bringing it up with the board, of not allowing public comment during discussion-only items. Or at a minimum, I hope the board chair will feel comfortable to waive this procedural rule when appropriate and allow people who represent a different stakeholder's point of view to speak, especially when they want to share their experience, their thoughts, their concerns that are related to these important discussions. After all, informed discussions lead to informed decisions. And later on, when you're voting on the action items, a lot of that comes from the discussion previous, not the actual day that you're voting. So I just want to say that I'm really appreciative of the way things work, but I really think it could be taken a step further during those discussion items. I think the public input is really important. On a side note, I also want to bring up a concern about misinformation that I've had. I've had it for a little while now, but it was recently brought to my attention that a board member told a KE member that a 1% raise on the certified salary matrix cost the district $1 million. I don't think that's true according to our current business manager. So there seems to be a misrepresentation of some of that, and this has been being said for like 10 years. I've been kind of paying attention to these things. In fact, Randy said it a few times in October and also in December. So it needs to be corrected at a board meeting so everyone's on the same page, because we don't want that, misinformation to be leaking out. I really appreciate what you guys all do and for your time, and I'm not going to give up on workforce housing. I'm going to keep going after it. I think it's an important thing that you guys could do to help new teachers and And I think it, you know, whenever you get time, I would love to talk more about it with anyone. So have a great day, I appreciate it.
Jared, we appreciate you coming, spending time with us this year and public comment every time.
Thank you.
You keep us busy. Do I have anybody else for public comment tonight? Seeing none? Okay. Personnel action items. Liz? Routine? Anybody have any questions?
Move to approve the personnel action items as presented.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Jennifer. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any public comment on this? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Request for personal leave.
We have a request from a certified staff that is in alignment with what is negotiated in Article 12.8 of the CBA. Pretty standard recommendation under that provision.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. A second? Second. Thank you, Sue. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Okay.
Rebecca?
I feel like I've seen these in the consent agenda. Is it possible, since these are generally not issues for discussion, to move this to the consent agenda for other times when this particular issue comes up?
Yeah, we actually had it in the consent agenda, and then we found where in the past we had put it as
We have
a single action, and so, this time we put it as a single action.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, contractual days for enrollment clerk. Liz?
So we have 4 staff members currently who deal with enrollment for our students. One of them is on their own calendar for the whole district. So this move would actually align that staff member's position with the other, making it a 218-day calendar instead of 212. So this request actually came up with the new out-of-district enrollments that are going to be coming up with the new legislation. Any questions are available.
Are there any questions for Liz? This is information only. Art? Good. Okay, thank you, Liz. Moving on. ELL literacy. Matt?
Okay, we have a recommendation here to add 0.5 ELL services. This is appropriate level of staffing for what we're experiencing now with our ELL students. We would be creating or housing this position at one of our elementary schools. It would be a home-based site for our newcomers. We're seeing some growth with ELL students, and this recommendation supports the staffing that then supports those students and supports our staff. Great kids that are adding a lot to our school. We're glad to have them get this transition for the families into English language learners.
Do you have any questions, Sue?
I have a question, where it's, I should probably know this, but where it says budget source, says Title III and MKV, what is MKV?
McKinney-Vento. Yeah.
Lance?
I know we've seen significant growth this last year. Do you see that continues, this going to full-time? And what kind of would trigger that?
I don't know. I think we've seen historically, and I say historically, just the last couple of years, significant growth. What we're talking about with the newcomer site would be all new students would benefit from that newcomer site, but our existing students would stay at the neighborhood schools in which they are currently at. I don't know if we have enough information or enough data to suggest we could predict a trend. But certainly if we saw the numbers continue to grow, it could go to a full-time position. That's not our intent. Our intent right now is to keep it funded outside of the general fund. Hopefully, if our numbers increase, we would have more access to grant funds, and it would grow proportionate to our grant funding.
Oh, you say, when you talk about, a home base kind of, so are you saying that this teacher will be in one of the elementary schools and then all the new students that are English language learners will go to that school?
Yeah, it's referred to as a newcomer site, and so the newcomers would go to that school. It could be for a set period of time, or it could be through a level of proficiency. And I think it just consolidates resources. It is easier for that person to connect with the teachers that are serving those students. But then certainly those students could transition to their neighborhood schools.
Any other questions, comments? None? Anybody willing to make a motion? Thank you, Jen.
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? None? Any public comment on this? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Up next, maintenance. Liz?
So the first of our three unions, going through negotiations this year, has come to a conclusion on the 30th of April. So if you had a chance to look through the CBA, I'd like to go over a couple of important notes. We cleaned up a bunch of language in our maintenance CBA. They will no longer have their seniority done with a coin toss. Done to a tie, so we can solve issues with that. But overall, a very positive, mutually agreed upon CBA, and that resulted also in a 3-year contract proposal that would be at 8.5%, and then a 2, and then a 2. So this is our staff union group that has had the highest turnover rate all year. That's at 32%. So there's only 7 of them. You can imagine the amount of time it has taken to onboard, train, and retain them. This is all wrapped up in this CBA. Questions?
Thanks, Liz. Anybody have questions for Liz?
Liz, just, I see on our, personal action items, we're 67% unfilled for this. I mean, are we hopeful that our CBA, it's a 3-year CBA, but are we hopeful that that will address some of these staffing issues?
Correct. And so 67% is actually just our maintenance 1 staff, not our maintenance 1 and staff. But collectively, then there's 7 of them that this is a new, are with Valley, and this is what's happening. Our maintenance 2 staff are highly skilled and usually specialized in a skill like electric or plumbing. We were falling quite short.
Any other questions? None? Anybody willing to make a motion?
I move that we approve the maintenance union CBA as presented.
Thank you, Sue. Do I have a second? Thank you, Jen. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? None? Any public comment? None? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Liz. Just kidding, you're still here. Daycare.
Okay, great. So this next is our CPS daycare MOA. We have 2 daycare providers through what initially started as a co-op model. This MOA represents the group creating a management committee between the two daycare directors, myself, and then two parent liaisons, one from each daycare, where we would try and problem solve through this next year, come back potentially to a more co-op model rather than two daycares residing in our district. And some good moves that are up here at the top. So we didn't have the language in there about having children that are KPS certified and classified staff. It just said staff. And then it was pretty vague on school district employees. So school employees from other districts in the valley were also being included, and not necessarily in front of our KPS staff, but we just wanted to make sure that our staff were first and foremost taken care of with this MOA, which was the whole purpose at the beginning. This is just a one-year MOA, so we will hopefully come back in January or February next year, with recommendations from the management committee on how we move forward. This year, the highs will be at $49.50 a day, and Little Explorers will be at $50 a day. So those are both a decrease from this current year. I don't think a lot of daycares are seeing a decrease. That's where we're at, and that's where we landed.
How many openings do you have in each daycare?
Currently, they don't have openings right now because they are filled with.
Sorry, I guess what's the capacity of each of the daycares?
So they actually have quite a large capacity. They can, since they're a daycare facility, they each have a second step. So they can rework where the infants are and reallocate the ratios. So, we're not at capacity right now. We have 8 in one and we have 4 in the other. So currently only 12 staff members are being served in a full-time capacity. If we rework the ratios, then we could be at 12 and 8.
I have a few things.
I'd be hearing from you.
It says in here twice about, state regulatory license and, maintaining current licenses. The Hive has not been licensed since September of last year. So they went this entire school year in the school, not being a licensed facility. And Little Explorers just opened a drop-in unlicensed childcare at their second site. And I just am uncomfortable with us promoting these two childcares, when they're not really following the rules. Like, it's not hard. She just needed to submit paperwork. And so that tells me that she's not really willing to do that. The other thing that I have, kind of an issue with is, back in December, whatever day it was, that we had the freak weather, and the one daycare chose to close early. And so, like, I was at a meeting at Rankin, and all of a sudden, she had teachers that were like, I have to go pick up my kids, and you haven't addressed that in here, how to align with the district. And I get that they're their own entity and their own business within the district, but you should have something in there about aligning with the district, especially when things like that arise, because it will just cause problems and will continue to cause problems. But what do you have in place to kind of ensure that they are licensed and you are making sure that they stay licensed?
I would like any motion to approve this MOA, the Jennifer's comment, second one, in your motion, and amend it to have the district calendar language included. That was a misstep on my part. What was not a misstep, though, in this year's MOA, the co-op was supposed to be taking care of ensuring daycare licensure with the district, and that was supposed to be a no cost for the district because we weren't going to have any admin time dedicated to it. There will be a cost this year because we've inserted ourselves in ensuring that this is sustainable moving forward in a practice that we want and how we want it to be. So that is included in here. This is now my responsibility as part of the management committee, to make sure that they are reporting those to me and not the co-op. Those being the licenses.
And it specifically states in here, maintain current license, so moving forward,
They
they,
did in the last one too, though,
okay.
and they did. And then what about the fact that they have unlicensed programs as well?
So that's been addressed, so that should not be an issue by the time the next year opens. But those are in the works and will be.
The only other thing that I would say too, with your pricing, Best Beginnings, which is a scholarship that people can get for childcare, just came out and just raised it to 58 a day. And so if they're charging less, they have to charge everybody that same amount. They can't charge their Best Beginnings families for 58 and then charge other people for 49.50. So just something to think about, and maybe looking at how many of your families get the Best Beginnings compared to how many don't, because it would be better to charge the 58 for everybody so that they could get the full Best Beginnings amount. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, when we discussed this in personnel too, that was something that we brought up, the fact that we want to make sure that this is cost effective for our staff
Yeah.
and making sure that, I mean, we know how expensive childcare is, and that was the whole reason behind this, was to make sure that our staff gets the best price. And, I mean, frankly, I thought it should have been less than that, but I don't know all those regulations, so I see where you're coming from with that point too.
Right, just the
Rebecca?
point is if they get if they get help from this particular service, that particular service will pay up to 58. So if we don't have our price at 58, then we are leaving money on the table that isn't costing our, staff money, but it's just government funding money.
Correct.
Is it
And
as
we
long
can
as-
always offer, I believe it's probably legal that we can offer a discount to people who are paying, or maybe we can't, but anyway, she's just saying that we're leaving money on the table, not charging extra to our parents.
For the people who qualify.
Right.
For that, but if they don't qualify for it, that's where we're saying, we wanted to make sure that this cost was as effective as we could to save them money.
So just looking at. And we can talk more.
Liz has it noted. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to include the pieces that Liz wants to add on there to align it with the school calendar.
Is it aligning it with the school calendar or the school hours?
It's with school directives. They know they're aligned with the school, but if the school, they have to wait for a directive from the school if they're going to.
Right?
Anybody willing to make a motion?
So made
Thank you, Jack. With,
with the amendment, yes.
second? Okay. Thank you, Jen. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I just have one more thing. And just like, as we look at, the new pre-K rules and that stuff, I mean, if we do get into a situation where we need to add a whole bunch of more little kids, wouldn't those spaces be best for that? Like, is it too early to sign an MOU with them without knowing if maybe you need those spaces for the upcoming increase in ELA kids?
We've done our screening and we know that we don't need those spaces, but it is a 1-year contract because we don't know what the future looks like.
Any other discussion? None? Any public comment on this? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Liz. Okay. We've got up next, elementary trustee and levy election results. Are you up on this one?
I guess we can tag team, Chris.
Oh, sorry, Chris, you're up.
Nope, yeah, it's, we had an election on Tuesday, last Tuesday.
Really?
We had 3 elementary, trustee positions open. We had 2 high school trustee positions, as well. However, those, you guys will remember, were, we had one candidate for each of those high school districts, so we will seek acclamation, Mark Hornick, and then Linda Capps, was the other candidate representing, you have way too many districts in Reed, like Cayuse.
Fairmont, your part.
Then Linda will be taking, over as trustee for that
Cut me off
district.
before I finish.
For the elementary candidates, we had Sue Corrigan. Oh, should we bring up the results there? Or, Sue Corrigan with 4,029 votes, Heidi Hicks there, I hope I said that right, Heidi, sorry, at 3453, and then Rebecca Linden at 2814. Those are our top three vote recipients, and they will be elected all three to a new three-year term. The tech levy that was on the ballot for the elementary side passed, but just barely by 17 votes. So that's going to definitely be very helpful for our stressed general fund budget. It doesn't get us home, but it definitely will help as we have to shift a lot of the technology expenditures that we had to the general fund had that not passed. On the high school side, the general fund levy failed, but there were some brighter spots as far as the results went. We haven't been above 40% over the last several years on votes for that, and we were up at 45 this year. The other kind of bright spot was voter turnout this year. We have not eclipsed 35% going back to 2020, and we had 46% of total ballots mailed returns. Pretty exceptional turnout for this year. There is, on the screen right there, the breakout of how each of the districts that comprise us as a whole for the high school district, all 5 of them, voted. The Kalispell district was the only district that voted with the majority of votes positive for the levy, coming in at 53% for, and then kind of across the board is about 40% for it with the other 4 remaining districts. So
Of the partner districts, which ones of those partner districts were also running a levy at the same time?
I am not certain on that. I know Evergreen was for fire.
West Valley was.
West Valley certainly was. Summers Lake.
Kyla was.
Did West Valley do a levy or a bond? West Valley did have a bond.
Kyla had a bond.
Okay, I think I might be saying Smith Valley, not West Valley.
And it failed. West Valley had 2
Yeah.
levies and they passed.
Okay.
For sure.
And I believe the Summers Lakeside had a fire levy or safety levy, but not a school levy on the ballot.
I was just trying to see if there's any correlation. I mean, obviously, we're trying to figure out how to crack this nut and been trying to do so for, 17 years now? Is my math that bad? Or is that right? I'm a lawyer, I'm not a math teacher. So I'm just trying to see where it'd be, I don't know if there's any way to break down these districts further, so we know that, hey, West Valley was supportive of us this year, but it was, say, maybe only Bissell, that was, or whatever. Is there any sort of breakdown on that? Because
No.
West Valley is or that District 1 is a pretty large district.
Yes, the only thing that we get back on the ballot is which district. We don't get any further breakdown.
Okay.
Like that.
What was our percentage margin last, high school election?
So in October, they didn't run the general fund.
Well, we ran a safety and a tech levy.
Yeah, safety and tech, the 36 and 35 were for, so considerably lower than what we saw here.
So we've, made up 10%.
Yeah, and then the last time the general fund levy was ran for high school was 40.5. So
Okay.
But also,
the needle moved.
Significant voter increase.
it was a significant voter increase because it was a trustee election as well. I think there's a difference there too. Can't really compare apples to apples with the fall versus the.
Yeah.
I think to Jen's point, though, it would be interesting to go back and so like, we know Kyla had a bond, West Valley had a bond, and then last year, when we tried to run a levy, this district was running something too, and that voter turnout was down, but the district that wasn't running something, that voter turnout was up. Like, that, I think that's what you're kind of getting at, right? Like,
Trying to
it's
understand.
kind of interesting to see, like, if when other people are doing stuff, if that's really impactful on our high school levies.
Yeah, because frankly, I expected with all the levies being run, that we didn't stand a chance.
Right,
Right, because it's levy fatigue, right?
right.
And the safety
we-
levy just passed.
We did do some research on that. I think it was just before Matt got here, so I can't even ask either of you to help. But Lance and Sue would have been aware. Like 5 or 6 years, we really did look at about 10 years of research into when other, because we talked, should we be talking with other districts? Should we be trying to align our levies and say, we'll do it every other year if you do it, should we be trying to make this sort of agreements? And, what we found was it didn't seem to be an effect of 2 districts running a levy, because it's always been this fear, like, oh, we shouldn't do it because everyone's gonna start saying no. And the numbers didn't bear it out. I thought the interesting 2 things from these numbers that we got was Kalispell, elementary district has much greater impact than anywhere else. We have a lot more votes, so that perhaps in the area where we are positive, trying to move voter turnout within the elementary district might be more effective. And the other thing I noticed, that I'm sorry, I kept pushing Chris on, I think it's 10 emails by now. Most individual districts had around a 40% voter turnout, except for 2. So if we're gonna push on districts, the 2 we want to look out for, which were up at 49, 46, they were much higher than everywhere else, were Cayuse and Fairmont Egan. Sorry, I don't know the whole list of Fairmont Egan. Those 2 districts were significantly higher in voter turnout than anywhere else.
Those are the same district. Right, in Fairmont.
Shoot, what was it? It's 2 and 3. I thought I looked into it. Which 2 and 3 are?
So was there one?
2 is Evergreen,
Oh, Evergreen, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
3 is Kalispell, Deer Park,
Right.
or Money.
You zoom that in.
Yeah, so District 5 was 44%, one of the lower percentage turnouts. That's where we have the highest support for levies. So to your point, Rebecca, maybe a more concerted effort in School District 5 to get higher voter turnout and higher positive votes might be more receptive than trying to,
But not in percentages. Kalispell is just larger in terms
Yeah.
of the number of people. So a smaller percentage is a greater effect because it's over a bigger pool.
Right. But I know we have almost the lowest turnout in School District 5.
Yeah, so again, just for comparison, we closed about half the distance of the no to the yes from the last time around,
Nice job.
right? So about 1,300 votes net positive. If we did that again, we'd be right on the cusp of passing. So I think it was great work by the communication team, and then obviously other forces at work that are mysterious.
Should we get a motion and a second on the table to have further discussion about this? I was just realizing
Yeah.
that I kind of jumped the gun on that one. So.
Okay, anybody willing to make a motion?
We have to take them separate, right?
Yes.
Elementary, I
Elementary
would
only.
move that we approve. So elementary, so moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this?
Yeah, so I guess
Yeah.
formalities, and maybe more my questions are on the high school one, and maybe we should go to that, because my questions relate to following up on the budget, in light of this, and what is our plan going forward? Because we've been very transparent with our community on this one, that we do not have anything else to cut. We're looking at things to do, maybe a 1-year stopgap on certain things, but there are going to have to be cuts made. And so I'd like to kind of get an idea update or knowledge of, anything going on with our legislature, in that we have a constitutional guarantee to a free public education that gets funded at 80%. And pretty much every community across the state was running a levy this go around. And some of them passed, but many of them failed. So that constitutional guarantee is not being met in a climate where we know that not every community is passing a levy, right? And so that's a big concern I have, and I think there's a large effort that needs to go on there, especially when things are being advertised to us as, oh, we're gonna use marijuana tax dollars for education. Well, we still only get funded at 80%. It's not like they said, we're gonna impose these taxes and we'll fund you now at 85% or 90%. We're still only getting funded at 8%. So I feel like there's a level of accountability and conversation and transparency that needs to happen there, because our hands are tied and continue to be tied, and our kids are paying the price. So that was my discussion on this matter.
Good question. So when we presented all the board budget presentations, we planned for both options. So if the levy passes, this was the plan. If the levies fail, this was the plan. We had those options outlined for both districts. On the high school side, it was up to 4 FTE reductions, and then the remaining deficit would be requested to be covered from the interlocal, from the ESSER code. Carla, go ahead.
Okay, good morning.
And it really puts us in a position for next year, taking all of the budgeting factors from end of year budget clarity, the process we're working through with this year's budget. We're negotiating with 3 different unions, the impacts of those negotiations, and then working through that budget next year. Next year will be the budget development process that will be tied to the levy request at the high school, that will be very specific about this levy passes, doesn't pass, this is what happens. And we've been really clear from the beginning that that's going to be significant as far as FTE reductions for programs. This year we committed to up to 4 through attrition, no RIFs, and no cutting of programs. On the high school side, Pete has been working with the high school principals, and they're between 3 and 4 FTE reductions. And then the rest of it will be, whatever that final number is for next year, covered out of the interlocal agreement. On the elementary side, obviously the passing of the tech levy keeps us neutral. It doesn't help our budget, but we're still over budget even with that levy passing. So we've reduced 4 FTE on the high school, or on the elementary side. And those have been through the K-5 schools. But that's just to get us in the bigger picture of where we need to be with a sustainable budget based on our funding formula. Your second question, I think, is like where most of the solution comes from for the state of Montana. The AA superintendents have been meeting to review the board resolutions that came from Bozeman schools and are being put forward through Montana School Board Association. And we're fortunate to have a rep on that. I think even a president, perhaps, of that organization. And the challenge that the School Board Association has is that they represent all school districts in Montana. And so when they receive board resolutions from a AA district, they try to put it into context of what does this mean for all districts in Montana, and sometimes that loses some of the specific intent from the district that it comes from. And so the focus this year from the AAs is to really petition MTSBA to have a focus that is that honors the original intent of those resolutions, so that we can help the districts that are in the most trouble, and those are the AA districts. Some of those resolutions have to do with the cost of living in some of the most populated cities. So if you're looking at Bozeman, Missoula, and Kalispell, there's no adjustment for inflationary increases or cost of living. They have to do with housing development and staff housing projects, which we'd really like to see happen. And so the other issue is just when you think about what's considered in a basic entitlement, the basic entitlement is at 80%. And every 10 years, the legislature has to review that basic entitlement to see if what we're expecting of our schools can actually be funded with that 80%. We have a number of things on the table that have to do with like transportation, activities, accredited middle schools, nursing, SROs. All of those things are not included in the basic entitlement, and we're asking the legislature to look specifically at those things. When you look at activity transportation for AA districts, it's disproportionate to other classifications for the distances we travel and the amount of teams we have. So to try to have a one-size-fits-all for Montana doesn't work for the AAs with a few of those resolutions. But there is the potential there to pick off a few of those in the legislative session if we're specific in the request that could bring some reprieve to our general fund budget. But I think what we're seeing, what you hit on, is that levies had a hard time in Montana this last go across the state. And hopefully what our legislatures are hearing is that the taxpayers want to see different solutions than local levies to go from 80 to 100% funding. So I'm hopeful that people are having those discussions, although I don't like seeing levies go down. I think in an interesting way, it has galvanized the effort around the state to put more attention on the actual funding formula, and that's the way we want to do free public education in Montana, equitable public education.
Well, it's constitutional guarantee that we have agreed to give to our children, and our legislatures can't just ignore that. And I say that with all due respect, because I have a lot of respect for a lot of our legislatures, but this is a problem that is in need of a solution. And I think we're coming into an election cycle that our voices with our legislators can be heard in a way that might be able to galvanize the momentum on this. So I guess I'm very much on my soapbox at this moment, but to the extent there's information that you can share with us as board members that we can then utilize to talk to our legislators, I think that'd be really helpful, because I think the more people they hear it from, especially us, especially seated as school board members, I think we have an ability to have a conversation with some of these folks that can really perhaps make an issue nonpartisan and something that is a problem in need of a solution.
Just to follow up on that, Jen, I encourage you to look at the recorded Think Tank Thursday from last week, because they're putting together the pieces for some legislation. MTSBA is putting together just the pieces, the start of some changes that we could make. Less reliance on A and B to even out the guaranteed tax base. But there's several things going on right now, and that was the first session for the think tank where they really were introducing some of these things, and it is a work in progress. But MTSBA does recognize that this is a huge issue, and I agree, Matt, that this is galvanizing people across the state. And yes, AA schools have, unique concerns from, B and C schools, but we still share this concern with the funding, and something has got to change. And I know there will be opportunities, to go to Helena, give testimony. There will be opportunities to testify via Zoom, write letters, the usual things. And but it's like there's two main things that MTSBA is going to work on this session. But yeah, I encourage you to listen to Think Tank Thursday. I think it's online.
Yeah, I was actually just trying to pull it up, and
Yeah.
I'll listen to it.
Yeah,
So
it was very
thank
informative.
you for allowing my soapbox.
It's a good soapbox.
There is a positive in this, though. Just looking at Chris's numbers, we had a great turnout. We are closing that gap, and that night while we were there, I was pretty hopeful. We had quite a few levies come through that were passing. Schools were passing levies that night. Columbia Falls got their levies passed. West Valley got levies passed. They were in the same boat we were, of year after year of no's. So something did change this go-round, and hopefully next time we can close that gap even further and get a yes for our high school district. That is where my hope is. But there's a lot of negative with this. It was extremely disappointing to get that no, but there is a positive that did come out of that night. And let's hold on to that also. This team, Sarah, our ads that we're running at the movie theater, I think that gained a lot of support. That gathered a lot of yes votes. I'm positive of it. We need to keep coming up with new ideas and different ways to close this gap. So while we're on this topic, I also want to throw out to Chris, I've been part of this process of watching for the past 3 years, and I've watched 3 different district clerks run this election cycle. And yes, we were there till 4 in the morning. You were there a lot later, but you guys did an amazing job. Sherry and her whole team, these guys, I mean, they've got this down. And for a district clerk to come in with this being completely new, thrown in your lap, you did a great job, Chris. I mean, it's just going to get easier and easier, and the reason it took so long had nothing to do with our team. There were hiccups along the way, but it was completely out of our control. So great job, you guys.
Like,
Really impressed.
Joe, Matt and I both struggle with saying his name, I'm just gonna own it myself. Joe just was, is as good an employee as anybody could possibly ever ask for, and he really was the quarterback on this thing. Him and Delia, owning it, working 10, 12-hour days prior to, and then election night was crazy. But yeah, Joe is a hero. Not just being melodramatic here.
Team effort, for sure. It was a great team. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. It's been moved, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? This is the elementary election. Seeing none? Any public comment on this? Garrett?
I'd like to, just say that, you know, I've heard through the past, I don't know if I've heard this through the grapevine, I might be wrong, but that the school districts actually sued the state of Montana in the past over a similar process. If I heard this story right, it was Kalispell School Board that actually put that forward.
Columbia Falls.
Columbia Falls, so it was Flathead Valley, so it'd be something to kind of look into. I was just reading about it a little bit, I don't know the context of it, but maybe getting a lot of the school boards and school board presidents to join together and superintendents to, you know, just put that shot across their bow and maybe, you know, find a lawyer that you could talk to and kind of see where that could lead. Because putting pressure on them is a lot better than asking them to kind of think about these changes. And I think there is a lot of pressure right now. It's building, it's starting to surge up, so now's the time to kind of increase it if you can. Because it is the state that holds the purse for these kind of problems.
Thank you, Jared. Okay, any more public comments? Seeing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, up next, high school election, and levy election results.
Pretty much all covered as far as data goes. On the first go-around with the elementary, it's all the same data there, just the canvas vote different.
Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I got one more. I mean, obviously there was a large, effort and allegation that the school equalization credits weren't necessary and that we're overinflating our, school budget, right? If that were truly the case, which which I assume it's not, then I think our legislatures should, or the people that were behind that should put their money where their mouth is and figure out how to use those extra equalization dollars to help the communities that have not been able to pass a levy. Maybe that's another way to use the equalization dollars. I know it's intended for rural communities that have small populations not sufficient to support the infrastructure of a school, but how is that any different from communities that can't pass a levy and are operating at 80%? So anyway, final soapbox on this. So thank you.
All good thoughts. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any public comment on this? Oh, I thought we did. Yeah. I moved and
Yeah, I moved. Brought along the discussion.
Not fell asleep. Hey, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, consent agenda, elementary only. I'll give this one to Lance.
Second.
Lance, thank you, Jen. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any public comment on this? None. Elementary only. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Consent agenda district-wide. Thank you, Jen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sue. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? None. Any public comment? None. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, trustee reports. Mark?
I'm disappointed that, the constituents in my, area did not vote more positively for the levy, which includes me, but I did.
Jen?
I want to apologize for not being at the Glacier High visit, and for whatever reason, I don't have these on my calendar, so I don't know if somebody can just tell me where we're going, when, and at what time, so I can just make sure I have them there, because I would have really loved to go out there and probably could have squeezed it into this, so I'm sorry I missed that.
For the main school calendar?
I don't know why. Well,
You should get this.
Eric will hook you up.
okay. If you can send it to me so I can like save it to my Google Calendar that tells me where to be at every minute of the day, so.
Got it.
That'd be great. Anyway, but I'm really sorry to, Glacier High folks missing that today, so anyway, but thank you.
Sue?
I have two things. First of all, I wanted to say that once again this year, I proctored the IB exams, and I did it for 2 days. And the first day, I proctored physics and sports science. And I always read through the exam as I'm walking around the room, and I thought, I'm not going to get any of these. I'm not going to know how to do any of them. Well, there was one physics one I thought I could probably work my way through, but it was really interesting. Sports science was the other one. This was the first year they tested for sports science. And oh my gosh, I couldn't do a single one of those. And that's kind of my area, you know? And so it was real interesting. That was an hour and 15 minutes, and those kids were awesome sitting in there. The second day, I did analytical math. And that one, I don't think I could have passed it, but I could have worked my way through a few of those. But I'm always so impressed, and I encourage any of you, if you get the chance next year, they're always looking for volunteers. And it is very impressive to watch the kids take these tests and to read through them and to see what they are working on. It's impressive. If you think we have no rigor in our schools, look at those tests. They are incredible. And the second reminder relates to MTSBA. The annual meeting is in Helena, June 5th, 6th, and 7th. And we will be talking a lot about, the legislative session coming up. And I would encourage, anybody to attend that. I will be there. And I think that's the one that you went to last year, Heather,
Yes.
and
Oh.
it's the annual meeting and the leadership training also.
Yeah.
And I know, having, new board members here. They do have new board member training that I really encourage you to go to, Heidi. Good. Yes.
Wonder my graduation. Thank you, Sue. Jennifer?
I do have an update. So, as you know, I've talked about it before, that we have a B5 transitions group that is comprised of myself. We have a couple childcare providers, Marissa here is part of it, and Amber Crane from Head Start. And we have been working on this kindergarten transition. We have a kindergarten transition form that I send out to all the childcare providers in the valley, and then they send it back to me, hopefully, and then I, in turn, send it to the kindergartens that they'll go to, or the schools that they'll go to, the kindergarten teachers. And that's been, okay, it really fell off after COVID. But anyway, our group got back together, and we held a PLC that was really successful. We talked to childcare providers and early K or pre-K and the first grade teachers even at this meeting. And then we put together a parent night and kind of a parent information night that we hosted at a child care facility here in town. And while we didn't get a lot of parents, I would say it was absolutely such a successful evening. I know we had one parent in the room that was set on sending his kids to private school, but we had such an amazing show up of District 5 employees, kindergarten teachers. We had somebody there from the transportation office. I think they had a counselor, yeah? Yep. And so what we just did it in a style where parents could come in, they could talk amongst themselves, and then on the tables, we had pieces of paper, they could write their questions. We took the questions, so they didn't have to be put on the spot to ask their own questions. So we took the questions, we asked it, and then whoever it was relevant to could answer it. We had people there from CDC, were also there, other therapies. We had somebody there from Parks and Rec that could answer questions about transportation and after-school care and summer care. And I just really think it was so successful in that way. There was a man there that was set on sending his kids to private school, but by the end of the night, he was like, well, I don't know, District 5 sounds kind of good. So like maybe we got to go to District 5.
Trying my best.
Yeah, right. But it's something that I think, like we're doing you a favor, and I think that it should be on the district calendar and something that we really like promote every year, kind of at this, end of year, April, May time when people are thinking about getting their kids. And then if we continue to do the ELA with, screenings and stuff, we could work something together. And then in that same vein, you could have people there from, some child cares or from Head Start that's like, hey, if you don't qualify for this, go talk to this table and see about getting some information about, getting into child care or getting into Head Start. And we talked about maybe doing it again in August when people are like, oh yeah, I gotta put my kids in school. So maybe we'll have another one in August. But it was really successful and really exciting. And then back to like what Jen was saying about talking to our legislators. I do get the opportunity next Saturday, to go to Washington, D.C., and I have meetings with Baines, Chester, Rosedale, and Dinky to talk about early childhood and homeless issues. And I really think that creating a better partnership between private early childhood and public pre-K and all of these things as a better system are like huge talking points to talk to them about. And so any talking points or anything that you want me to take to them about funding is 100%. Like, those marijuana dollars aren't coming into the schools. They're going to roads and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
No offense.
Offense.
Away from that.
But that's all.
Our fish are well cared for.
Thank you. Jack?
No report.
Lance?
I'm guessing this is gonna be my last meeting, last full meeting, so, couple things. I'm kind of surprised how emotional I am. I don't get emotional, but it's been 9 years. This district's incredible. It's been an honor for me to serve, on the board, as the board chair. think very highly of everybody at School District 5. Custodians, teachers, paraeducators, just incredible people. But mostly I know the central admin. And, you know, we've gone through a couple of superintendents and huge turnover in this last couple of years. I got more confidence in the intelligence and the creative aspect of the people that are here in the ship than I've had ever before. I know there's big challenges, but people we have thinking about how to address these problems, it's just amazing. And I feel very good about where we are with that. This has been an honor. 27 graduation ceremonies. It's been a cool part to be part of that decade of students. Thanks. I get more thanks than that. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Lance, thank you for all of your years of service.
And when people ask me what am I gonna do with my time, second or Tuesday, you know, date night, I've got a partner that doesn't tolerate blocking that. That's where I'll be.
Thank you, Lance.
About that. Because I mean, I've never seen anybody more brave, I think, than watching him during COVID. And if they're, I mean, just someone to look up to, who just does hit after hit for us, but that's what I think about when I think about you. Brave, kind, and we always felt like you had our back, it's from every level.
Leave a legacy, Lance. Thank you.
I'm not following that.
Now you're up.
I'm not following nothing.
Okay. Let's move on to administrator reports. Seth?
Well, I'll start with saying that I'm equally as emotional about Lance leaving as he is. We've actually talked about it, and I wasn't able to talk to him this day. Just, everybody's gonna tell you, it's just such an, just so humbling to watch you work and how you care for people and care for problems and, trust people to solve problems, but give your insights anyway. In fact, I find myself more often not asking for your opinion versus, you trying to direct things. So always humbling and very appreciated. A few updates that we have going on. First one, we're really close to finalizing the long-range facility planning project. And so when we kick this off, you know, this is a big scope, and I thought it was really wise of Micah to kick this off under the umbrella of, we see things happening in the Flathead Valley, we see a lot of growth. So what is it? Let's qualify it. Let's study it. Let's see ahead of the problem. But then we also looked at it from a sense of, we have limited budget resources. So can we use this study to prioritize our current needs so that when we have limited resources, we know that we're spending good money on good solutions that then have the potential to compound effect and save us money. The third aspect, or the third big bucket that we have to need to look into is, we're making this instructional shift towards more flexible learning, more personalized learning. If we were to design new spaces, how would we create those spaces? What is the best model? Are there spaces that we currently have that we could explore? So we're drawing that to a conclusion with a summary report, and it really just takes us to the next step, which is identifying the key indicators that would move the needle on a decision. So we've identified a decision tree. So if you choose this, it takes you down this road, and these decisions after that. So we have some work ahead of us to identify the specific indicators. So if our enrollment increases to X number of students, it's going to put us on this trajectory of making a decision to do something. I've contended this whole time that indecision is a decision. So if we aren't aware of these indicators, then I think we could find ourselves very reactionary really quickly with saying we're overcrowded, we need to do something. All that to say also that there's been a little confusion in the process where people have gotten a little bit ahead, and I'm guilty of it too, where you start drawing some conclusions based on the information before we've had all of the information together, and then you start studying the problem a little bit more, and you realize your first assumption maybe wasn't correct. And so that has happened with lots of different things, not maybe anything specific, but but I just say that, you know, we haven't made any decisions based on the study. We're at the phase of we need to tighten it up and identify what we're gonna make decisions off of. We're excited for that summer report, and it's coming soon. On the next board meeting, we have scheduled a work session for budget updates and negotiation updates. That's been on the schedule for a long time. We put it intentionally here because we're closing out the year. We knew the election results, and we were hopeful that we'd have negotiation finalized, ratified at that time. There's maybe an opportunity for that to still happen, I'm not sure. But regardless, we'll be talking about that. So we just expect to be digging into a little bit of that as much as we have anyway at the next meeting. Speaking of negotiations, there's just some people in the room that I want to recognize. You know, we've been through maintenance, custodian, certified negotiations, and so 3 different unions, lots of different meetings, usually weekly meetings with each one of those groups. Jack, Lance, and Heather are the trustees that currently sit on those negotiation committees, and it's just a lot of time. And I appreciate the time you guys have invested into that process, and our employees appreciate your time. If you're interested in serving on one of those committees, we'll have 2 of those spots soon available. So be thinking about that when we reorganize next meeting. We'll have 2 of those spots come open. On our staff, Michelle Payne and Marissa Murray are our principal reps, and they're attending all of those meetings. So they have a full load of, you know, their normal assignments, and then they were asked to be on that, to serve on those committees, and they've shown up at every one of those meetings and provided administrative insight into that. And the whole process has been led by Liz, and I just really can't say enough for how well Liz has led that process. I forget that this is her first year with us in the district. She is just running processes like she's been here for 15 years. And so she's just incredibly valuable in her position. We're so thankful to have her do that. Last thing I'll say is we're finalizing a lot of big employee interviews and processes. So we've had some shifts, some waterfall shifts. I think it's been good. Maybe I'm saying that because I was part of that, but we've filled some positions, and I think that we're at the spot where we're filling some assistant principal, special services director positions. And I was talking with somebody today, and I said, it feels like those positions create a little bit more anxiety with the staff than new trustees or a new superintendent, because they're the people you work with day in and day out. They're your supervisors. And so I'm really excited for those strong applicant pools in each one of those positions, but I'm also excited to get those positions behind us so we can just feel the comfort of knowing where our staffing is, and they just feel good about moving forward in the next year with the new staff. That's it.
Thank you, Matt. Keith?
Just a few things just on, PCB and just some of the work that we're doing. And Sarah has really been, heading this up with just the launch team showcase. So Sarah put together, all of our teams that went out to Yuma, to Santa Cruz, and to South Carolina, and she brought them all back together as, part of that work, and did a showcase. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, so Sarah and Matt could speak to it a little bit. I had a funeral to go to on Wednesday, but I've heard nothing but positive things. So just the amount of work, that was put into that, and just the excitement and the passion that our teachers are bringing back when they get to go out and see it in action. That just kind of resonates, and that's really helped do exactly what it was designed to do, is to launch us into PCB. And I know we've been bogged down into, with levies and budget and all of that, but I know that's, at the forefront of what Matt wants to accomplish. So, we continue to move forward. We'll continue with boot camps. We worked hard on we have a Doris Mountain Summit on June 26th and June 27th. We closed out registration for that, and we're hoping to get 100. We have 118 signed up for that, so we're really excited. So we're putting the final touches on that. So PCB continues to be, our push, our vision for our students, and that's what excites us. Just on another note, just as far as our charter schools, as you know, we're approved for 2 charter schools. We're finalizing everything with the Office of Public Instruction. What the holdup is right now is we don't have our school code, so it's holding up a lot of things. But we have the over 41 students in each one. They estimated really low, like at about 50 students, so that we should be, getting the additional base on the charter school, so that will help out a little bit. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but we have a lot of work to do, for that, and, a lot of that's probably gonna fall on the principals and on the business department, so on Chris. But we're excited, with just some of the things, and we continue to work through some ideas with the charter schools. We had a team that went to, Launch High School in, Cedar City, Utah, last week, kind of the same thing as our launch team. They're doing some of the same things, and so be able to integrate some of those ideas. So just, as we work through the levies and the budgets and, some of that stuff is a grind, we're still really excited. That's what kind of gets us up every morning and, brings us back is just the good work that we do for our students. And I just don't want that to be forgotten. And, Matt has really provided that vision, and we've all just kind of taken it and run with it.
I gotta put a plug in there. So good teaching and learning is the heart of every school. It's gotta be the center. And that's what we do. That's why we exist. And we have an amazing school system that's getting even better. And it's just so fun to be a part of. The show and share was the highlight of the year. Like I don't know if they were able to make it. This room was packed with teachers showing off. We had kids here from different classrooms articulating how the experience has impacted them. It was incredible. The boot camp, or the Doris Mountain Summit, you don't have to sign up for the whole thing, but I really want to encourage you to try to hit one thing, just to be here, feel it. The energy behind it, the vision here is that we want to bring in partners to this work. So we have a cohort of our staff. They're going to be there. They're going to lead some panels. We have some speakers that are going to come in. But more than anything, we just want to rub elbows with people in our partner districts. We have people coming from Hot Springs. We have people coming from all the our typical partner districts that are part of our high school district. And we want them to join us as we're building this knowledge base of what personalized competency-based learning looks like, not 5 years down the road after we've already done it. So we're really excited to build those connections, those friendships, and then see what it looks like for the following year. So again, if you could carve out just a couple minutes, couple hours maybe of time on those days to see what that's all about, I think it would be well worth your time.
What are the days again?
June 26th and 27th. It's a Wednesday and Thursday.
And if there's any problems that you see at that event, it's all Pete's fault because he's managed the whole thing. And Sarah and I are so passionate about the topic, poor guy can't get ahead of it before we're giving him a lot of unasked for advice, but he's doing a great job running it.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Pete. Chris, do you have anything else to update? Nope. All right, everybody, take a look at the upcoming meetings. A few on here. I don't think anything's out of the ordinary. And anybody willing to make a motion to adjourn our meeting? Thank you, Lance.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Heather, can you be around a little bit longer?
Lance and I will be here for our next meeting.